Welcome to another session of Aloka Dhamma discussion. As always, today also we have in our studio Sandalanka Kalandasana Thero and Kampa Sumanasa Thero. With respect, I warmly welcome to our studio. So we've been in last couple of weeks discussing about leaders and the particular qualities a good leader should have. I would like to pick another quality which every single leader needs to have, because that is a quality which is very important a leader should carry, which is being erudite. That is been into many places and have been heard or filled with the right knowledge. To be erudite, you should have the willingness to learn. That's the first step. If you have that willingness to learn, your knowledge is comparatively better than the rest. Then you can give a better direction and leadership to your team with that knowledge. Venerable Kalananda Sratero sir is Buddhism, highlighting the importance of being erudite, and is Buddhism teaching us a path to build that quality?
With respect to Venerable Gampa Sumanasa Thero, Mr. Karagala and dear devotees, you ask if Buddhism highlights the importance of learning. Well, the answer is yes. Buddhism indeed places a significant emphasis on the importance of wisdom and learning. The Buddha himself is often depicted as the epitome of eruditeness, having attained deep insight into the nature of reality through his own experience and learning. In Buddhist teachings, wisdom, so-called panya, is one of the paramount virtues that it is considered essential for achieving enlightenment. The path to building the quality of eruditeness in Buddhism involves the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, which includes aspects such as right understanding and right effort that directly relate to learning and wisdom. Right understanding involves developing a deep comprehension of the nature of reality, including the understanding of the Four Noble Truths, while right effort pertains to the cultivation of wholesome qualities and the avoidance of unwholesome ones. Moreover, Buddhist leadership principles, as derived from the Buddha's teachings, advocate for qualities such as compassion, mindfulness, and ethical conduct, which are integral parts of effective and enlightened leadership. These principles suggest that a leader should not only be knowledgeable but also embody the virtues of kindness and moral integrity to guide others effectively. Dear devotees, Buddhism does highlight the importance of being erudite and provides a path to cultivate this quality through its teachings on meditation, ethical living, and the development of wisdom and compassion. This holistic approach to learning and leadership is aimed at benefiting not just the individual but also the wider community and society as a whole. Mr. Karagala, in Anguttara Nikaya Chatukka Nipata, it is given Chattaro me bhikkave puggala santo sangvijjamana lokasmin katame chattaro appasuto sutena anupapanno appasuto sutena upapanno bahussuto sutena anupapanno bahussuto sutena upapanno. In the world, we find 4 distinct types of individuals. Dear devotees, the first type is the unapplied learner with limited knowledge. This individual has acquired only a small amount of learning, such as discourses, prose, verses, expositions, and dialogues. In Pali we call Sutta Geya Veyyakarana and so on. Yet fails to grasp the meaning behind these teachings. They do not comprehend the Dharma and do not live by its principles. This is how one is considered a learner with limited knowledge who does not apply their learning. The second one is the applied learner with limited knowledge. This person, despite having learned only a little, including discourses and dialogues, has understood the significance of the learning. They have grasped the Dhamma and live in harmony with its teachings. This describes a learner with limited knowledge who applies what they have learned. Dear devotees, the third type is the unapplied learner with extensive knowledge. Here an individual has amassed a wealth of knowledge from various discourses and dialogues. However, they do not understand the meaning of their learning, the Dharma, nor do they practice it. Such a person is considered to have extensive knowledge but does not apply it. The final and the fourth type is the applied learner with extensive knowledge. This individual has learned a great deal, including a wide range of discourses and dialogues. They have understood the meaning of their learning and the Dhamma, and they practice it diligently. This is how one is seen as a person of extensive knowledge who applies what they have learned. These are the 4 types of individuals that exist in the world. So, dear devotees, who we must strive to be is the last type. A person, and in doing so, and we will not only be respected by others, but it will also help us in achieving success in both our day-to-day life and spiritual life.
Okay, well, when the Sadhalanka Kalandasana Thero explained about the concept of eruditeness from Buddhist point of view and the types of people we meet in our daily life based on their knowledge and practical application of that knowledge. Whenever I have 2 related questions. First is about wisdom. We always confuse ourselves in between without understanding the difference between wisdom and knowledge. According to Buddhism, is there a difference between knowledge and wisdom? Number 1 question. Number 2, if it is so, what is the path shown in Buddhism which is helping us to develop our wisdom?
With respect to Venerable Sandalankawe Kalandasana Thero, Mr. Karagala and dear devotees, according to Buddhism, wisdom is something that grows through listening and reflecting on the Dhamma. In the Buddha's time, knowledge was primarily gained through listening, a practice known as the Ekanayaka way. Today we have various ways and means to acquire knowledge, including reading. Wisdom can be enhanced by both listening and reading the Dhamma, but it also requires intelligent reflection to grasp the deeper meanings. Merely listening without understanding or questioning does not strengthen one's intellect. Dear devotees, the Buddha often emphasized the importance of not just hearing the Dhamma, but also contemplating and applying it. Many people hear the Dhamma but fail to reflect on it deeply, which leads to a lack of strong conviction. Those who do not apply their understanding remain mentally weak and will be like a cowherd who merely watches over others' cows. True wisdom comes from applying the Dhamma in practical ways, making it an experimental part of one's life. Knowledge becomes a burden if it is not applied. The ability to recite Dhamma verses is futile or useless if they are not practiced. The Dhamma must be lived, not just learned. Dear devotees, intelligence is developed through association with good people, guidance from the learned, and critical thinking about acquired knowledge. Applying knowledge in practical ways is the ultimate step in gaining intelligence. Educated individuals are expected to exhibit self-discipline and moral behavior, distinguishing them from the ignorant. Wisdom in the Dhamma, coupled with worldly intelligence, is acquired through social interactions, education, mental development, and practical application. Dear devotees, the story of the two companion monks is a very good example for this. Of the two companions, one was a worldly, but very well learned. The other was an arahant, though he only learned a little about the teachings. The learned monk did not practice meditation, but his companion did and achieved Nibbana. Being conceited, the learned monk intended to embarrass the other one by asking questions in the presence of the Lord Buddha. Knowing his ulterior motives, the Buddha asked some practical questions about the Dhamma. The Arahant answered them all from his personal experience, but the learned monk could not, as he had not attained anything. The Buddha praised the Arahant who had practiced and understood the Dhamma well and preached, Appampiche sahitam basamano dhammassa hoti anudammachari ragancha dosancha pahaya mohang sammappajano suvimutta chitto anupadiyano idavahuranga sabhagava samanyassa hoti. Though he recites the sacred texts much, but does not act accordingly, that heedless man is like a cowherd who counts others' cattle. He has no share in the fruits of the spiritual life. Then the Lord Buddha said again, though little he recites the sacred texts, he acts in accordance with the teachings, forsaking lust, hatred and ignorance, truly knowing with mind well freed, clinging to nothing here and hereafter, he shares the fruits of the spiritual life. Dear devotees, from this story we should be able to understand the difference and importance between knowledge and wisdom. As such, if someone desires to be successful, they have to not only develop their knowledge but also their wisdom. And in doing so, we can live a happy life because we will always have an answer to all the problems that comes our way.
So the most important thing which comes from this explanation is that people will not respect you if you lack the knowledge. That's the starting point of your leadership journey. But along with that, it is important to have common sense if you need to become a successful leader. But unfortunately, one of the most uncommon thing in this world is common sense. Common sense is about being street smart. Of course, you can be book smart through studying, but the point is everything in the environment definitely will not go according to the theory. So, Venerable Kalandasana Thero, so what are the references we have in Buddhism and Buddhist philosophy highlighting the importance of common sense, and as individuals, how can we improve our common sense standard by practicing Buddhist teaching?
Mr. Karagala and dear devotees, it is very clear that in Buddhist philosophy, the importance of common sense or practical wisdom is acknowledged alongside erudition. This aligns with the concept of upaya or skillful means, which refers to the ability to adapt one's teachings or actions according to the situation or audience. It's about being street smart and recognizing that everything in the theory is not aligning to the real world. To improve common sense standards through Buddhism, one can engage in practices that promote mindfulness and reflection. Mindfulness helps in being present and aware, which is crucial for making sound judgments in real world scenarios. Additionally, the Buddhist path encourages lifelong learning and transformation, suggesting that common sense, like any other skill, can be developed and refined over time through practice and experience. Buddhist teachings also emphasize the middle path or middle way, which is a path of moderation away from the extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. This approach can be seen as a form of common sense, advocating for a balanced and pragmatic way of life. In summary, Buddhist philosophy values common sense as part of being a well-rounded individual and leader. Dear devotees, it suggests that through mindfulness, reflection, and the practice of the middle way, one can enhance their practical wisdom and become more adept at navigating the complexities of life.
So that's a very clear and short answer about common sense. And as leaders, we know you live in an environment which is dynamic and which is changing day in and day out. We believe that it is more dynamic today, but 2500 years back it would have been the same. So I would like to ask from Gampa Somanasa Thero, sir, can you give some examples of theories or stories which we can find in Buddhism, which is highlighting practical experience or practical examples of common sense?
Mr. Karagala, the Apannaka Jataka story is a very good example for this. The Bodhisattva was once a merchant who led large ox-cart caravans to trade with distant lands. As he prepared to leave on a long, dangerous journey through a vast desert, he heard that another merchant, a young and stupid man, was going to make the same journey. If they traveled at the same time, they would tear up the road, and it would be difficult to find enough water, grass for the oxen, and firewood. So the Bodhisattva went to discuss the situation with the young merchant. And given a choice, the young merchant decided to go first and the Bodhisattva would leave later. Dear devotees, as the foolish young man's caravan reached the middle of the wilderness, a demon who lived there devised a plan to make the travelers discard their drinking water, so he and his small gang could easily attack and eat the very men. Using his powers, he conjured up a majestic carriage, and the demons, disguised as humans and soaking wet, with lotuses and water lilies on their hands, rode toward the approaching caravan. The young merchant stopped, talked with the demon, who told him that the difficult part of the journey was over, and there was plenty of rain and many lakes up ahead. The demon suggested that the merchant lighten his load and ease the journey by dumping his water. Not doubting the demon's story, the young merchant ordered his men to smash the heavy water jars. But of course, they found no water during the rest of the day and went to sleep weak and hungry because they had nothing to drink and couldn't cook their food. The demons came during the night and devoured all the men and oxen, leaving nothing but bare bones behind. Dear devotees, 6 weeks later, the Bodhisattva began his journey with 500 carts, and halfway through, the demons approached him with the same story. his men believed the lie and wanted to ditch their water so they could travel faster. But the Bodhisattva recognized the lie and refused, explaining to his men that if there really was rain, they would hear thunder, see storm clouds and lightning, and feel the strong wind. Dear devotees, when they came to the place where the foolish young merchants group had been massacred, they circled their caravans for the night to make a fortified camp and kept watch, swords in hand, until morning. When they left, they swapped their weakest carts for some of the abandoned ones that were stronger and took the most valuable merchandise. All the men made a great profit and returned home safely. Dear devotees, from this story we can see the importance of common sense. Because the merchant knew about forecasting weather, he and all his companions were able to escape with their lives and travel the rest of their journey without much hardships. So although erudition is important for us to live in this world happily and comfortably, we must have common sense. Otherwise, our lives will be very difficult and we might even lose everything we have. But if you possess common sense, then not only will it help you in your spiritual life, but it will also help you to be a good leader and bring prosperity to both you and the people around you.
So we spoke about eruditeness, knowledge and wisdom first, and we said that is the starting point of gaining respect, and that is the starting point or the fundamental first step of being a leader. Without those three things, you can't even start a journey as a leader. But in real life, when there is a change in the way things happen around you, which usually happen to us as leaders, we go set up a strategy for next year or 2 years, and when we get into the real world, when we try to execute that strategy, the variable we thought which will be there is totally changed or half changed. When that happens, you cannot only use knowledge or wisdom to come out of it. You should have, as a good leader, some common sense. That is what we called as being street smart. As explained by Venerable Kalandasana Thero and Sumanasa Thero, according to Buddhism, mindfulness and reflection will help you to build your common sense, which will in turn help you to come out of your troubled situation. So in modern leadership, it called you should concentrate irrespective of what is happening around, which is being taught in Buddhism long years ago. So the most important thing is, when you have all these four and when you develop these skills, it will make you a unique leader who can sail the ship in any stormy weather. When there is no storm, any captain can sail a ship, but only a good captain sail a ship when the weather is not good. So today we discuss about how you can become a good captain irrespective of weather condition, a captain who can sail your ship towards the end journey. So that brings to an end of another productive discussion of Aloka Dhamma discussion, which in couple of weeks back up to date we've been discussing about leadership and developing leaders. And as always, I thank Mallasekara Foundation for being partner of this noble work, and with great gratitude on behalf of JAYA TV, I thank Venerable Sandalanka Kalandasana Thero and Gampa Sumanasa Thero for being here as always and sharing their noble knowledge around the globe. And thank you all of you for listening. Theruvan Saranai.